What's up, y'all? It's your boy Zach back at you with another reaction video. And today, I don't even know what to say about this. The NBA season has been suspended because of this coronavirus stuff. Man, I couldn't believe it last night. A Utah Jet, Rudy Gobert, man, he was acting too careless with all this coronavirus stuff. They postponed three of the games. I believe the Mavericks and I don't even remember who the Mavericks played last night, but they were the last team to play. The Kings and the Pelicans didn't play last night. They postponed everything and suspended it as soon as the word came down that Rudy Gobert tested positive, and now Donovan Mitchell tested positive for the coronavirus. Let's check this out here.
For Adrian Wojnarowski sharing this, who will be with us momentarily. Jazz star Donovan Mitchell has tested positive for the coronavirus, league sources telling ESPN. Jazz players privately say that Rudy Gobert had been careless in the locker room, touching other players and their belongings. Obviously, this is the second player on the Jazz. The hotel in Oklahoma City where the Jazz were staying has now been closed to the public. Woj, kind enough to join us now. I know it's been a busy week for you. Woj, what's the latest you're hearing on all of this?
Woj is keeping it real.
Well, certainly a great deal of frustration on Donovan Mitchell's part, and I think some other teammates in Utah. What you saw with Rudy Gobert in that news conference, kind of the cavalier attitude he had with the media, where you saw him touching the microphones and putting his hands on things on his way out. I was told that he carried that similar attitude into the locker room, and the fear is now that he helped to transmit the coronavirus to a teammate. Donovan Mitchell has tested positive, and now there are two members of the Utah Jazz, a team that has been a serious contender in the Western Conference, and a team with significant aspirations this season. This is on a lot of levels a very difficult scenario for that organization.
Woj, we all know that Rudy Gobert is a good guy. He's a relatively kind and affable guy. We're not going to accuse him of having any malice intent. But that's coming from us. Based on the information you've acquired and who you've talked to, what's the attitude like towards Rudy Gobert at this particular moment, in light of the fact that he was so playful and, dare I say, irresponsible with his behavior?
Yeah, I think just the lack of seriousness with which he took this, and you saw him do it again in a very public setting, and I'm told he did it privately in the locker room, and there's consequences, and now the team is faced with consequences for those actions, and it is a situation that's going to
licking everything or what?
Have to be addressed within this locker room. They may not be back together on the court for quite a while, but teams are going to be allowed to practice. They're going to be allowed to work out of their facilities moving forward. But obviously, there's going to be a period of time, certainly for those two players and others with Utah, where they may not be. They're not going to be in the gym on the court together immediately.
Woj, this is hitting sports particularly hard because in times of war, in times of tragedy, in times of economic crisis, people could use sports as a distraction. But now suddenly there may not be sports for a hot minute. Your reporting somehow just got even more valuable. Like, this is the stuff we are following now. Is Gobert, is Gobert, has anyone said anything? Has he made any comment or given any indication that he will use himself as a cautionary tale? In other words, make some kind of public pronouncement about his behavior, about what not to do? It seems like he could be useful in that way.
Yeah, absolutely, Max. I don't know at this time what his plans are, how he plans to address it. I do know that the Utah organization, it's one of the best in the league. They've got really strong leadership there. Dennis Lindsey, their president, Justin Zanuck, their GM, Quinn Snyder, their coach, and then go through that roster. It's typically a very mature roster of players and a close-knit roster of players. But it's going to challenge them, to work through this. There's a lot of frustration right now, even some anger. And there's no question that's going to be a challenge for them. But listen, and you said it, Max, this may be an example for others, and maybe in this instance, the NBA plays a part in helping others outside of the NBA, outside of sports in this country, get a better sense of how seriously we all need to take this virus and the potential consequences, not just in sports, but beyond.
Obviously, this is uncharted territory, unprecedented, but what are you hearing in terms of the timeline for the NBA's next steps?
Well, you had Mark Cuban on earlier, or the comments from Cuban. I think those align with what a lot of people are bracing for in the league. They would love to believe this is going to be 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It may not be, and the league has understood that, and they have been planning for contingencies for weeks now themselves. They knew, teams knew, and executives and owners I talked to in recent days, even before the events last night in Oklahoma City, many of them had an expectation there would be games lost. They didn't know how many. So the league's been working on this. It's going to challenge everybody in this league, players, owners, teams, league office, to kind of find a spirit of cooperation to try and salvage this season. At some point, it might mean, as Mark Cuban said, pushing the season into July. There may be scenarios where they delay the start of next season based on how long into the summer this league has to go. Those are all questions right now that no one has answers for yet.
Man, Rudy Gobert ruined everything, man. Oh, man. What was he doing these last few days? He was healthy. If I'm not mistaken, from what I heard, he was healthy. What the heck? What was he doing? What was he going on? Licking everything or what? In the locker room. Come on, man. Now, I heard what was his name? Tom Hanks and his wife Rita are in Australia right now, and they contracted the coronavirus. So this is serious. Now they have to go into self-isolation for 14 days or so, I believe. Now Rudy Gobert is the first player in America to contract it. Now it's Donovan Mitchell, his teammate. Prayers to go out to those two first off. Made joke about Rudy Gobert ruining the season, but hopefully prayers go out to him and Donovan Mitchell and to Tom Hanks and his wife Rita. Hopefully we get the NBA season back when it might be about 2 weeks. I heard it's going to be about 30 days or so. President Trump, suspended travel to Europe for 30 days. South Korea and China are locked down. Italy is basically locked down. Everybody's suspending the season, NBA season. Soccer, National Soccer League. FCC. Well, not the FCC. What's some of those tournaments that's supposed to be playing right now? College tournaments. They're shutting down. They quit earlier today. The only one hasn't shut down or suspended anything or postponed anything is the NCAA. I don't know what they're doing. They better get their act together. They have to look, the NCAA. They better get their act together. Hold on right here. Let me check this video
I
out.
encourage everybody else who is in a position of leadership in sports to show the leadership and do the correct
Mark
thing,
Cuban,
which is
shout
to be on
out
the
to
right
him.
side of history and suspend things are going on, and we will come back and finish it.
His initial
later.
reaction I saw
an extremely huge
on
problem
TV
with the
last
ACC
night.
still having their tournament, and with the NCAA overall, who hasn't canceled anything. I can't explain enough. I almost shake when I think about the NCAA and their exploited tendencies that we have lamented for decades. And
They better
here
get
you
their
are
act
with
together.
institutions of higher learning closing their schools, but somehow, some
Yeah,
way, you still won't stop.
My sister, spring break is coming up. Sister's coming down tomorrow college, upstate New York. Now they, school colleges sent out a warning to everybody that now classes will be done online. They're gonna stay. She gonna be here for weeks. All over a week. She going back up there about the 20 something. It's gonna be longer. Maybe it's March. You may be here until April. Coronavirus is it's serious now. So now colleges, schools going to be closed down. The NCAA, they can't just have these kids out there, sweat. People don't. If you want to go on a micro, in-depth level of how dirty basketball is, how the sports world is, how dirty and how unsanitary it is, sweat dripping everywhere. Odor, cups, all that stuff, drinking from each other's, Gatorade bottles and cups and whatnot. It's unsanitary. They can't expect to have these young kids out there playing and whatnot, sharing locker rooms, going to different schools and whatnot, and they make money off of these tournaments, March Madness. So their bottom line is just going to be compromised, and to hell with the players. They can't do that. It's unfair.
Basketball tournament from taking place. The ACC, you talk about just 150 people, whatever the case may be. Here's the reality of the situation. Max and I have talked about this over the air on several occasions over the last few days. They talk about, 10 days to 2 weeks before you even know, before you even have any symptoms.
Between 5 and 14 days where you don't show symptoms.
Yeah. That's right, between 5 and 14 days. So again, if you don't show symptoms, how would you know? And then you're talking about the players, and you're talking about the 150 people in attendance. When they leave the arena, who the hell are they communicating with? You don't know this. The fact that we're still learning so much. I don't care if you allow 10 people in the arena. You should do everything you can to refrain from that level of participation. And oh, by the way, the athletes themselves, if we got to worry about shaking hands with folks or people sneezing in our vicinity, what about the athletes who are breaking a sweat, competing against one another, banging bodies, swapping sweat, for crying out loud, and all of this other stuff? What about that? How do you not take that into consideration when it comes to athletics? Just in terms of a numbers
game.
It's inexcusable.
We have players from all over the country, the personnel.
Congressional doctor yesterday, I believe it was, predicted that between 70 and 150 million Americans are going to get the coronavirus. In other words, almost, more than half the country is going to have it. The issue is not whether or not people will get it. It's an infectious disease. It's asymptomatic early on. It spreads very easily. The issue is, the point of social distancing is to slow the spread, right, so that everyone doesn't get it all at once. That's when the most vulnerable are even more vulnerable. That's why, if people say, well, if everyone's going to get it anyway, that's why you don't convene 20,000 people in the same place at the same time. Why lower numbers are better. Why I originally thought maybe they can do it in an empty gym. Because with training staff and everything, 50 people get together, it's okay. But once one person has it, as you pointed out yesterday, Wendy, then you have to quarantine them, their family, everyone they've come in contact with. It doesn't work.
The NCAA takes a lot of criticism.
Obviously,
we all know
this. I can't even go to the gym right now.
Bring this up to you, both Greeny
I went to the gym
Don't you
yesterday.
think this is an opportunity for them
Niggas
to get
was
in front of a situation like this
in the
and
gym,
show
and it
that
was
they actually
mild
care
in the
about
gym.
the
I
players'
just walked
well-being? When you
right the
can't
hell
attend
out.
class, but you can play in a game.
I got sick the last few days.
I will be very surprised if those games are played as scheduled next week. I'm surprised that the NCAA does not determine what the conferences individually do or the member schools individually do up until the tournament itself starts, which for both the men and the women is next week. I personally will be shocked if next Thursday morning, which is traditionally one of the great sports days in the country, actually it's Tuesday because the first 4 games would be in Dayton, I will be shocked if those games are played as scheduled.
Let me tell you why they're not going to be played. Because regardless of what Charles Barkley said, or what Stephen A. has said, what Jay Billis, influential people, also, at some point today, the lawyers are going to get in the ear of Mark Emmert, and there is a potential liability here. And that,
their
at the end of the day,
line being
might
compromised.
be what causes a tipping point. Because there's certainly going to be cases in this situation. And it's not just about, like Max says, bringing 50 people together. It's bringing 8 different schools together, playing in the same locker rooms in the same gym, and then sending them out back to 8 different places.
But the thing about it is that doesn't negate the fact that the NCAA already dropped the ball.
Yeah.
That's
because
baffling.
You already dropped the ball because you had an opportunity. Your opportunity to get out in front of it, Molly, has passed because the NBA has already acted along with a multitude of others. And you, with the student athletes, you talk about professional sports and professional athletes who get paid millions, and the league is losing millions, hundreds of millions of dollars potentially, and they still stop play. But you, who lives off of March Madness, but the athletes don't get paid, you still announce that you're going to make sure to send them out there. That, to me, is what shows what the NCAA is all about. You've already dropped
the
ball.
The stain is already there, regardless of how they handle it now moving forward and trying to correct it.
I try to think of, like, so look at Adam Silver. That's real leadership, and you mentioned leadership.
Shout
and
out
Charles
to Adam
Barkley
Silver
coming out
also.
and saying stuff now. It's clearly true that everything should be put on hold. But you start to wonder, what is the motivation for those who are not showing leadership? Where you can see inevitably where it's going. You have to be not that smart not to see it. And ostensibly, people rise to positions of power because they have some sort of sense of what's going on. And I understand the idea, don't panic. I get that. But at the same time, given the facts of the situation, I just wonder what someone like Mark Emmert is thinking, really, when presented the information, knowing, well, this is where this is headed.
Maybe for someone to test positive.
Can I throw this out to y'all as well? This is what makes it look even worse. He was helped by the NBA. Here's why. If the NBA, why do you want to get over March Madness? Because the NBA playoffs begin the very next month in April and they go into June. Well, by them suspending their season and therefore pushing their season back, it now gives you the latitude to push your season back and delay it. You could have restarted it when the NBA restarted it, and you would have been fine. Basketball,
also the NBA draft process is getting pushed back.
Everything.
The players.
You had a clear path to make the right decision, and still you didn't do it. That's the NCAA.
There's another terrible optic that they have here, and I know this because I'm the parent of a college student. They're sending my daughter home. They call it distance learning. So they will be learning, and they'll be in their own homes. I mean, literally, almost every university at some point soon is going to send the kids home who can go home. And we're talking about from one end of the country to the other, from Stanford all the way to Harvard and everywhere in between, including Northwestern, where my daughter is. So the players at this moment are scheduled to play basketball on a court with each other, which is an extraordinarily physical activity. But the students are not safe to be living in dorms and living amongst each other and going to class. The optics of that are also, of course, horrendous.
Yep. Just like Greeny said, they're going to send the students home. Spring break starts tomorrow. My sister, she's going to come home. She's going to spend how long here until who knows, maybe ever. Until next year. Or, in the September, Yeah, this virus, we got caught with this nonsense. China, they've messed up. They're supposed to submit it into the I don't know what the process is, but they were supposed to alert, it was almost at the end of the last week, or the last few days of the new year, and they didn't submit it in. They didn't, put a red flag on it that is something that that the health department should look into, and they just let it spread. China didn't got it, South Korea got it, and how bad it was, and then people started migrating everywhere, all over the world to Europe, and now to here. This could have been locked down. Maybe something could have been done. Maybe we could have got a vaccine, a quarantine, or something. And now it's a little too late. This could have been put on lockdowns or something. They could have been, people could have gotten infected, but at least it couldn't have gotten at least a little slowed down. This is China's fault. They didn't, the urgency to, get on this was just lacking. And now, now we're suffering from it. The greatest country in the world is now suffering from it. So I don't know how long this is going to be. Everybody take care, stay safe, wash your hands. I wash my hands at least five, six times a day. Haven't left the house. You haven't really left the house. You know, except when I go out do my driving lessons. But always come back, wash your hands, take a shower. Do everything. Don't touch anything suspicious. If you cough, cover your mouth. All that stuff, all the necessities. And all that other stuff. Be clean. Be safe. Now they cleaning down the subways and whatnot. You know how many years they didn't clean the subways and trains and whatnot. Now they cleaning them. All these money that they charge in $275, and they keep raising the price for these bus fares and whatnot. And now they cleaning. It's about damn time. They should have been did that. All right, y'all. That's gonna do it for this. Just offering my thoughts on this whole coronavirus. Suspending the NBA season, ruining my day. Everybody stay safe, keep it cool, keep it classy, wash your hands and whatnot. All right, y'all. Peace.